Dak laid an egg. Lamar had an MVP performance, and the crybaby from last week actually grew up and they took care of business in New England. Let's talk about it.
And really, it's what this next week of preparation and honestly these next couple of weeks are about is figuring out what that difference is and trying to close that gap. Obviously, we'd love to come out, start like we play at home, produce like we do at home, but that just hadn't been the case. Those two different of a teams, you know what I mean? Winning like we do at home against obviously a good team last week, and then come out here today and just don't get anything done all the way around. I mean, in all three phases. But obviously, when myself, the offense doesn't start well, it doesn't help anything of it, any part of that, and allows them to continue to run the ball with the lead, and just makes it tough on everybody.
Hey, if you don't know, my name is Keith. I do Black Quarterback Series, and today we're going to start. We can't start nowhere else but with Dallas. So Dak Prescott was 20 for 34, 139 yards and an interception. Different team on the road. They have that in big bold letters. So Dallas is almost unbeatable at home, but on the road they look a little shaky. Even against a team that you don't think they should beat, or you don't think that should beat them because they're so dominant. Buffalo just bullied them. Buffalo said, "This is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it for 4 quarters, and there's nothing you can do, Michael Parsons. There's nothing you can do, Dak. There's nothing you guys can do. We're going to pound you guys to death." And there was no response from Dallas. I don't even know really to give a lot of commentary on this. Josh Allen played good Josh Allen football. He looked like Cam Newton. Funny enough, with Cam Newton's comments last week, I posted a video, but it didn't go through for whatever reason. So my stance on the Cam Newton thing is you got a Heisman Trophy winner, an MVP, a Super Bowl appearance guy. He dominated every level of football that you can imagine. And for you guys to be like, oh, he's not in the NFL, so he can't say nothing no more. None of us are in the NFL. None of us. And the ones who not, I think, who said it? Ryan Clark on the pivot made a good point. Either we couldn't play in the NFL, they don't want us to play in the NFL, or if you were a woman, again, you couldn't play in the NFL. So, like, it's funny how Cam can't have an opinion, but all these guys that can't shine his shoes can have an opinion. Like, and that was my stance on that. Like, it was crazy, bro. It's always personal with Cam. They never judge what Cam says. It's always how he is or what he does. And I think they're jealous of him. They're jealous of him. They're not used to Cam being so candid. Somebody said on Twitter, and if I can find it, I'll post it. They said they're used to player Cam, not saying too much, being a pro, not out of football Cam. He can say whatever the hell he wants. So yeah, that proved Cam's point by not being able to play well today when he absolutely had to play, and his guys didn't have their best stuff today. Zach Martin is injured. I think that might have been more precautionary. I expect him to play next week, unless we get some big crazy updates. He got a concussion or anything. But Zach Martin is getting old. He's getting up there. They might want to look to start, grooming somebody else to take that spot. But he's a phenomenal offensive lineman. Like I said, good Josh Allen. When Josh Allen plays like this, he's an MVP. When he plays like whatever he played like in October, he's the opposite of the MVP. He's terrible, Good game by Baltimore, or good game by Buffalo, and they got back on track. I still don't think they'll make the playoffs just because of their division, but good game by them. And speaking of Baltimore, as I almost said Baltimore, I looked at it in my notes. Lamar was special yesterday. The numbers don't quantify how terrible his offensive line was and how special he was. Lamar was 14 for 24, 171 yards, a touchdown, and a really bad interception where it looked like the athlete just made the better play. 12 carries, 97 yards. Likely had himself a day, 5 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. I don't have Bateman on here, but Bateman had a good day too until they started going away from him for whatever reason. So Bate actually had a really good game. It's good to see. He's healthy. He's moving on. Odell missed a big first down there as well. It was rough to see, but they end up getting the win, and Trevor Lawrence still is not that guy. I've never said that, but this is my first time actually sitting down and watching a full game of Trevor Lawrence. Dude does not look it. You can say what you want about Justin Fields and how Trevor Lawrence was the consensus first pick in that draft, and I agree with you. He was the consensus first pick, but Trevor doesn't look. Even his numbers don't suggest that he's just head and shoulders better than Lamar Jackson. He fumbled on a weird fumble. It looked like he just glitched out. He fumbled the ball like bad interception. He did not look good at all. I was talking to a friend and I asked her, this was her first time watching him as well, and I was like, so what do you think? What do you think of Trevor Lawrence? And she was like, he looks like a rookie. And she was like, Trevor Lawrence that looks like a rookie, and Lamar looks more seasoned. And I was like, it's a good point. Trevor did not look ready to play today or yesterday. Now you can say it was because Trevor was injured and blah, blah, blah. But let's run it through the Lamar Jackson test. Lamar Jackson wouldn't get that credence, right? So we got to judge everything through the Lamar Jackson lens. So Lamar Jackson, special in prime time. What else you expect? Ronnie Stanley was awful. They're going to have to look to move on from him. He was so bad. He was so bad yesterday. The offensive line was so bad yesterday. I was just like, shout out to Wonder Ken. I was watching his live stream. He was just absolutely foaming at the mouth of how bad they was on the offensive line. So that really needs to be addressed because I said this when I was watching the game. If that's Chris Jones for Kansas City, oh, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get real, real ugly. So they need to figure that out. Moving on to Kansas City, Pat was 27 for 37, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Rasheed Rice, nine receptions, 91 yards and a touchdown. They got some get right against a bad team. Now, not Brock Purdy. We'll get to Brock Purdy in a minute as well. Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi looked like a decent quarterback in the first half. Then he woke up and realized he was Bailey Zappi. After the interception in the third quarter, it was pretty much a wrap after that. They ended up winning 45. No, that was a different game. They ended up running away with it. I think the final score was 27-17 or something like that. But after that interception and the ensuing score by Kansas City and Mahomes, they ran away with that game. It was over. And with Denver losing the way Denver lost, it looks like they're going to go ahead and wrap that division up. I don't think Denver's going to catch them. I thought they was going to catch them. Denver's been a great story. You know, as we move on, let's move on to Denver. Russ was 18 for 32, 223 yards and a touchdown. They ran into a motivated team. They ran into a really motivated team. Detroit had been falling off a little bit. They started to do Detroit things, and they got out to a 21-0 lead at halftime, and that was pretty much it. The game was never close. 42-17 was the score. They just looked outmatched. It looked like Detroit came in with an issue at hand, and Denver was the team they was taking their issue out on. So shout out to the Lions. Jared Goff actually looked good. He looked like early Jared Goff of this year, where I had him as the top 10 guy. So shout out to Goff and those boys in Detroit. Good Justin Fields. My goodness, it's good to see good Justin Fields, but I'm going to get to the bad as well. 19 for 40, not good. 166 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, also not good. 7 carries for 30 yards, which was good because they had other contributors to the running game, which means your quarterback didn't have to run as much, which is really, really good. So, but the fourth quarter, you can really tell that they just they don't know how to close games. It's been maybe 3 or 4 games this year where they had an opportunity to close the game and they just couldn't do it. Joe Flacco gave y'all the game. I think he threw 3 interceptions, and that defense wasn't playing well until the end. You up 17, I think it was 17-7 or 7. They were up like 10, and you end up losing the game on a walk-off field goal. That's not good. You can see the progression. The offensive line was decent today. The defense has been really good these last month or so. So to me, it's not for a lack of them trying. They just can't close games. And as long as Justin Fields doesn't look awful, I'm good with it. We're still progressing. We're still in his progression. And I expect him to be on a new team next year. And for that to be a Caleb Williams problem. And we're going to talk about Caleb Williams as well next season. I can't wait. So, yeah. It's amazing what a good running game will do when it's not your quarterback having to do all the runs, but they couldn't close. Bryce Young. Bryce Young was 18 for 24, 167 yards. Nothing for real, like I was going to say earlier. Herbert, 22 carries, 87 yards. When you have a running game, young guys just play better. They also had a better offensive line this week. They didn't get absolutely trashed in it. They looked okay in the offensive line, and Bryce looked like he had a look pep to his step, a look confidence. Now they only got 3 field goals, which is all you needed to beat Atlanta, but 2 wins after looking like they wasn't going to win a game. Not a good start, but you got to get Bryce some help. You got to get Bryce some help. It's a dumpster fire there. I can't regularly judge Bryce Young until he has adequate NFL talent around him. Justin Fields, I can kind of adequately judge because at least he has NFL talent around him. They're just not very good. I don't think Bryce Young has NFL talent around him. So, yeah, we'll definitely see when it comes to Bryce Young. But he had a decent outing and they got the win. And so our final game of the week, because Philly plays on Monday, and I think Jalen is questionable. So you guys will know before me if he plays tonight or not. So we're gonna move on to our final game of the day. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was 26 for 39, 211 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Ended up getting absolutely blasted by the 49ers, 45-29. At this point with Kyler Murray, you're just trying to rehab it. You're just trying to get back to where you was before towards the end of the season. And he looks good. The burst is still there, and he looks like Kyler Murray. So I'm glad to see that. And so I put this game on here just specifically so I can talk about Brock Purdy, right? So I don't have Brock Purdy's numbers in front of me. I'm sure they're really good. But if you watch the game, these guys, Shanahan is scheming these guys open. And so is he like the bus driver? No. I think C-Mac is the bus driver. C-Mac is the bus driver. He's just along for the ride. And has there been other quarterbacks that did that? Of course, Kurt Warner did that. Tom did that. And Kurt Warner actually won the MVP. But I just don't see why we're giving Brock Purdy MVP votes when we saw when all his guys was out and he looked terrible. Like, for example, what Lamar did last night. Spectacular. Bad offensive line, raining, like wet ball. Like, what he did last night was special. That's an MVP performance. What Dak has been doing all year. MVP type stuff, right? You can say Dak has more talent, blah, blah, blah. But I don't get the Brock Purdy thing because they look just as dominant when they had Jimmy G. So if you're not gonna give Jimmy G MVP votes, why are we giving Brock Purdy MVP votes? Like, I don't even like to call I don't like the race bait for real, but it seems like some white privilege type thing. Like, for example, if you put Justin Herbert on his team, they might be undefeated. Now, I'm not the hugest Justin Herbert fan, but he's miles above Brock Purdy and how talented Brock Purdy is compared to Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert would rightfully be an MVP because we see how special he is with football. Brock Purdy is throwing to open guys with the best offensive line, with the best receiving core, with all the best things in the world. I can't give a guy MVP if he has the best thing in the world. I know this is the NFL. I'm compared to the NBA. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are going to eat each other when it comes to pause. They're going to take votes away from each other because of how dominant they are. KD and Steph, neither one of them was ever going to win MVP together. KD and Kyrie Irving to a certain extent. Giannis and Damian. They're going to take MVP votes away from each other. So why are we acting as if, and Purdy even said C-Mac is in MVP, Christian McCaffrey, was I think Christian McCaffrey should be the first running back since AP to win the MVP. Because without him, that offense doesn't go. So that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And you guys will definitely get a video next week because I know the Christmas and everything, but I'm gonna try my best to get a video out to you guys. If not, you check my community tab, check all my socials. It'll be in the description to what we're going to do next week. And enjoy the games next week and enjoy the rest of the week.